Good morning, students. Today I'll be discussing sulfonamides and protonemoxazole. Sulfonamides is a antimicrobial agent which is developed synthetically. So it is not a antibiotic. It is a antimicrobial agent but not antibiotic. Why? Because it is synthesized or developed synthetically. So, but to say a agent antibiotic, it has to be developed from the other microorganisms if we go by the definition of antibiotic. So sulfonamides is a antimicrobial agents but not antibiotic. So coming to the today's learning objective, we'll go through the history of discovery of the sulfonamides, then chemistry of sulfonamides, antibacterial spectrum of sulfonamides, its mechanism action, then mechanism of resistance of the microorganisms to the sulfonamides, uses of sulfonamides and adverse effects of sulfonamides. Then we'll be discussing the cotrimoxazole. It is a combination of sulfonamides and trimethoprim. We'll be discussing the rationale of these combinations, its spectrum of action, resistance, mechanism of action, adverse drug reactions, and the uses of cotrimoxazole. Sulfonamides is the first antimicrobial effective against pyogenic bacterial infections. It is a derivative of sulfanilamide containing a sulfonamido ring, structurally and chemically related to PABA, that is para-amino benzoic acid. It is structurally similar to many drugs like thiazides, which is a diuretic, acetazolamide, which is also a diuretic, dapsone, an anti-leprosy drug, and sulfonylurea, that is a anti-diabetic drugs. Physically available as a white powder, mildly acidic, and form a water-soluble salt with bases. However, indications of and the practical uses are very few nowadays. Coming to the history, the screening of dyes for their antibacterial properties in 1920s, these sulfonamides has been developed. Sulfonamido chrysidine, a commonly known as a protencil red, which is a dye, was the first one effective in streptococcal infection, which has been demonstrated by a scientist in mice by the scientist Tomac. And subsequently, this scientist cured his daughter who was suffering from streptococcal infection. In 1937, this diprotencil red was broken down to release sulfonilamide, and from which many sulfonamides have been developed. As going back to the history, in 1920s, investigation into the microbial properties of this protencil that dyes, protencil emerged as a variable compound metabolized to para-aminobenzene sulfonilamide, and these sulfonamides structurally it is similar to para-aminobenzoic acid. Coming to the classification of the sulfonamides, some are short-acting, for example, sulfadiazine, sulfacetamide, intermediate-acting like sulfamethoxazole, and long-acting like sulfadoxine. Then topically used sulfonamides are mefenide, silver sulfadiazine, sulfacetamide, and some of the sulfonamides are used in some systemic infections like ulcerative colitis as well as rheumatoid arthritis like sulfasalazine. Some sulfonamides like sulfur containing drugs are sulfon, that is dapsone, sulfonylurea like tolbutamide, diuretics like loop diuretics, thiazide diuretics, carbonic anhydrase inhibitors like acetazolamide, COX-2 inhibitors like celecoxib, valdecoxib, and some protease inhibitors. Why it is important to know? Because chemically or structurally, these drugs are similar to sulfonamides. So, anybody who is allergic to sulfonamides, they may be allergic to these drugs also, as they are structurally similar. So, it is very important to take history of when you are going to prescribe the drugs like these drugs, whether that patient is already allergic to the sulfonamide sub drugs. So if it is so, then there is every chance that the same patient may be allergic to drugs like dapsone or thiazide diuretics or loop diuretics, so on. Now coming to the antibacterial properties, it is a bacteriostatic against the gram-positive and gram-negative bacteria, but its concentration in the urine is bactericide. The susceptible organisms are Streptococcal pyogens, Haemophilus influenzae, then Haemophilus ducreyi, Vibrio cholerae, Chlamydia, Actinomyces. Few strains of Staphylococcus aureus, Gonococci, Meningococci, Pneumococci, E. coli, and Shigella are also sensitive to sulfonamides. But nowadays, many of these organisms has developed resistance against these organisms, or rather, organisms has developed resistance against the sulfonamides. Now, some sulfonamides in combinations like sulfadoxine in combination with pyrimethamine are effective against Plasmodium. Then sulfadiazine in combination with pyrimethamine are effective against the toxoplasmosis. Now coming to the mechanism of action, there is a Woods and Fields theory. Bacteria normally pick up para-aminobenzoic acid from surroundings to synthesize the folic acid. The bacteria actually synthesize its own folic acid, and then they produce the purine as well as the other amino acid for their growth and the multiplications. But unlike human, they themselves produce their own folic acid. Now what happens? The inhibition of this bacterial folic acid synthesis from the para-aminobenzoic acid is the target for these sulfonamides groups of drugs. The few enzymes are involved. So what happens? Pteridine along with para-aminobenzoic acid, there is a synthesis of dihydroteragic acid, and then in combination with glutamic acid, there is a synthesis of folic acid. So this is the normal conditions how the organisms they develop or they synthesize their own folic acid. Now when you give sulfonamides take they binds with the pteridine, so thereby they inhibit the synthesis of folic acid in the microorganisms. So now why human is not affected? Why no human is affected by these sulfonamides, these inhibitions? Because human can produce their own, human can utilize the preformed folic acid. That's why they doesn't suffer the inhibitions of sulfonamides. Now coming to the schematic diagram of the mechanism action, the para-aminobenzoic acid with pteridine, with the help of the enzyme, pteridine synthase enzyme, there is a synthesis of dihydroteragic acid. Now dihydroteragic acid along with the glutamate, there is a synthesis of dihydrofolic acid, and enzyme involved is dihydrofolic synthase enzyme. Now this step is inhibited by the sulfonamides, and there is another step, that is a dihydrofolic acid. From the dihydrofolic acid, there is a synthesis of tetrahydrofolic acid, and this step is catalyzed by the dihydrofolate reductase enzyme, and this step is inhibited by the trimethoprim. So when you give in combination of sulfonamides and the trimethoprim, there is a sequential block. But individually, if you give this drug, they are bacteriostatic. But when you combine these two drugs, so then it becomes bactericidal drugs. Now, tetrahydrofolic acid are required for the growth and the multiplications of your microorganisms. So if it is not synthesized, so naturally the growth and the multiplication of the microorganisms will be inhibited. So another diagram, same. So dihydrotaric acid with the para-aminobenzoic acid, there is a synthesis of dihydrotaric acid, and subsequently there is dihydrofolic acid synthesis. So this is inhibited. This step is inhibited by the sulfonamides acting on the dihydrotaric synthase. But just see, in case of human, the preformed folic acid can be directly utilized. Only thing is that it is to be activated by the enzyme dihydrofolate reductase enzyme. Now coming to the mechanism of development of resistance against the sulfonamides. Many strains of Staphylococcus aureus, gonococci, meningococci, Streptococcus pyogenes, E. coli, and Shigella, they have developed resistance against these sulfonamides. Now, how they have developed resistance? The mechanism, there is a production of increased amount of para-aminobenzoic acid, like Staphylococci, because the organisms, they develop synthesize folic acids against the para-aminobenzoic acid. If there is a excess availability of para-aminobenzoic acid, so inhibition by the sulfonamides becomes inefficient. Another thing, the pus, the abscess, the pus, it is rich in para-aminobenzoic acid. So any infection where there is pus, abundant of pus, so the sulfonamides are usually not effective in those type of infections. Folate synthase enzyme has low affinity to the sulfonamides. When due to the development of resistance, when the enzyme affinity has been reduced, so sulfonamides cannot act. Sometimes the organisms can adopt an alternative pathway of folate synthesis. So thereby there is a development of resistance by the organisms against the sulfonamides. What is the pharmacokinetics? It is rapidly and completely absorbed from GIT. Extent of plasma protein binding differs from 10 to 95%. Some of the sulfonamides are highly plasma protein bound, some are very less. Usually the longer acting ones are highly plasma protein bound. Why it is important? If a sulfonamide which is highly plasma protein bound, now if you combine any other drug which is also highly plasma protein bound, then if you combine these two drugs, one drug can displace the another, and there is chance of displacement drug interaction. That is the importance of knowing this pharmacokinetics. It is also widely distributed, enters in the serous cavity easily. It is accumulation is very good in prostate. So in some prostatic infection, these sulfonamides can be utilized. Metabolized by microsomal acetyltransferase enzyme in the liver. Some of the patients are slow acetylated, some are fast acetylated. Acetylated product or metabolized by acetylation, the product excreted in the urine, and it is toxic to the patients. So there is low solubility in the acidic media. So there is chance of crystal formations. The acetylated product which is excreted in urine, if the urine is acidic, so there is more chance of crystal formations and crystalluria, and ultimately there are some adverse effects. So that's why when we give sulfonamides, we usually ask the patient to take a lot of water, or we make the urine alkaline. Now, what are the adverse effects of sulfonamides? Nausea, vomiting, epigastric pain, crystalluria. So that's why to overcome this crystalluria, crystal urea, we alkalinize the urea. Hypersensitivity reaction is common. There is chance of hepatitis, hemolysis, especially if the host is deficient of glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase enzyme. There is chance of kernicterus in the premature newborn babies, because if you give sulfonamides, it can displace the bilirubin, so the free bilirubin can cross the blood-brain barrier, and especially the newborn babies are deficient in blood-brain barrier, and this free bilirubin can be deposited in the basal ganglia, and that may lead to kernicterus. Sometimes question may be there, why in the premature newborn sulfonamides not to be prescribed. Sometimes prolonged use of sulfonamides can give rise to hypothyroidism, and there is chance of drug interaction, especially the displacement drug interactions with the warfarin, tolbutamide, phenytoin, methotrexate, because they are also highly plasma protein bound. So a patient who is on warfarin, which is an anticoagulant, if you prescribe sulfonamides, especially the long-acting sulfonamides, which are highly plasma protein bound, so this sulfonamide can displace the warfarin. So the free fractions of the warfarin will be more in the serum, and thereby there is chance of development of adverse effects due to warfarin. Now, where can we use the sulfonamides? Systemic use of sulfonamides alone is obsolete nowadays. And ureteric infection is used in combination with sulfamethoxazole and trimethoprim. We call this combination as a cotrimoxazole. It is also effective in pneumocystis carinii infection, pneumonia, especially in the AIDS patient or the patient who is suffering from neutropenia. Against the malarial parasite, sulfadoxine is a sulfonamide, which is given in combination with pyrimethamine. For the treatment of toxoplasmosis, another sulfonamides like sulfadiazine, it is given in combination with pyrimethamine. Then ulcerative colitis and rheumatoid arthritis, sulfasalazine is prescribed, which is a combination of sulfapyridine and 5-amino-salicylic acid. Locally also sulfonamides are used. In trachoma, sulfacetamide is used as an ophthalmic solution. Another preparation is sulfonamides is there, which is used locally, that is mefenite. It prevents the microsomal colonization and infection in part. It inhibits the carbonic anhydrase enzyme, and thereby the urine becomes alkaline. In contrast to the specific importance is that, in contrast to typical sulfonamides, which is the other typical sulfonamides, which is inactive in presence of pus, but this mefenite is active in presence of pus, and also it is effective against pseudomonas. So this molecule of sulfonamide is used for burn dressing. But problem is there is irritation and pain, why it is used topically in the burn dressing. Coming to the cotrimoxazole, which has been developed in 1969, it is a fixed drug combination of sulfamethoxazole and the trimethoprim, and this combination give rise to synergism. It is a sulfamethoxazole is a intermediate acting sulfonamides. Trimethoprim, it is a trimethyl benzene pyrimidine, is a diaminopyridine chemically related to pyrimethamine. Do not confuse with cotrimoxazole, which is trimethoprim and sulfamethoxazole, but sulfadoxine pyrimethamine is a anti-malarial. When you give cotrimoxazole, the mechanism action is a sequential block of folate metabolism. So trimethoprim is 50,000 or more times more active against the bacterial dihydrofolate reductase enzyme than the mammalian dihydrofolate reductase enzyme. That's why when you give cotrimoxazole, which is a combination of sulfamethoxazole and trimethoprim, the adverse effects is very less, because trimethoprim has more affinity, 50,000 times more affinity for the bacterial dihydrofolate reductase enzyme, and this enzyme, bacterial dihydrofolate reductase enzyme, is inhibited by the trimethoprim. So no harm to human folate metabolism. Individually, both are bacteriostatic, but in combination, this in the trimethoprim, sulfamethoxazole and trimethoprim in combination, they becomes, that is, bactericide. The cotrimoxazole becomes bactericide. Maximum synergism we can see when the organisms is sensitive to both sulfamethoxazole as well as the trimethoprim. As I already discussed, when the cotrimoxazole, it is a combination of sulfonamides and the trimethoprim. They show a sequential block in these two steps, and thereby they become more active. The individual drugs are bacteriostatic, but in combination they becomes bactericidal. So both drugs have almost similar half-lives. Sometimes question may be there are so many sulfonamides, but in cotrimoxazole, why sulfadox, this two combination has been prescribed. Sulfamethoxazole and the trimethoprim has been combined together because they causes sequential block, but most importantly, both the drugs have almost similar. The optimum synergism is obtained in a ratio of 20:1 concentration in the serum. So when the serum concentration are in a ratio of 20:1, that is the sulfamethoxazole 20 and trimethoprim 1, and then the maximum synergism is same. That when in this combination, if we achieve in this concentration, if we achieve in the serum, then minimum inhibitory concentration of both is reduced to by 5 to 6 times. So as the MIC is reduced, so you can say it shows the synergy. But to achieve this concentration in this ratio, to achieve this concentration of sulfamethoxazole and trimethoprim in this ratio, that is 20:1, we have to give the drug not in a dose of 20:1, but we have to give the drug in 5:1 ratio. Now question is, why in 5:1 ratio? 5:1 ratio means we can say 20:4 ratio. That means if you give 20 milligram of sulfamethoxazole, you have to give 4 milligram of trimethoprim. So if you give 20:4, so 20:4 ratio, we will get the 20:1 ratio concentration. Now why 20:4 ratio? That means we are giving more amount of trimethoprim, because trimethoprim has large volume distribution, and when you give, it enters to the tissues. As it enters to the tissues, the plasma concentration comes down. So that's why to achieve the serum concentration 20:1, we have to give in 20:4 ratio. But trimethoprim crosses blood-brain barrier and as well as the placental barrier, but sulfamethoxazole does not cross the blood-brain barrier and the placental barrier. Trimethoprim is more rapidly absorbed than sulfamethoxazole. Then trimethoprim is 45% plasma protein bound, whereas sulfamethoxazole is more plasma protein bound, and trimethoprim is partly metabolized in liver. Antibacterial spectrum of cotrimoxazole. It is almost similar to the sulfonamides, but it is with some extension. Additional benefits are the cotrimoxazole are also effective against Salmonella typhi, Serratia, then Klebsiella, Enterobacter, Yersinia pestis, and Pneumocystis caries. Sulfonamides resistance strains of Staphylococcus aureus, Streptococcus pyogenes, E. coli, Shigella, gonococci, meningococci, and the Haemophilus influenzae. These organisms which are resistant to sulfonamides, but they may be sensitive, sometimes they become sensitive against the cotrimoxazole. Resistance is slow to develop by mutational changes or plasmid mediated acquisition of dihydrofolate reductase enzyme having lower affinity that leads to the development of resistance. Coming to the adverse effects of cotrimoxazole. All adverse effects of sulfonamides are also seen with the cotrimoxazole, like nausea, vomiting, stomatitis, rash. Folate deficiency is another important. There may be development of megaloblastic anemia where the patients are suffering from marginal folate level. That means where the patient is suffering from folate deficiency. There is chance of blood dysphagia. Then pregnancy, it is contraindicated because it may lead to teratogenicity. It may lead to neonatal hemolysis and meth hemoglobin. Patients with renal disease may develop uremia. In elderly, there is risk of bone marrow toxicity from cotrimoxazole. Diuretics given with cotrimoxazole have produced a higher incidence of thrombocytopenia. Where we can use the cotrimoxazole? We can use this cotrimoxazole in uncomplicated urinary tract infection, cystitis, then chronic and recurrent urinary tract infection. In chronic and recurrent urinary tract infection, it is used even 3 to 10 days. In cystitis, 5 tablets dose in a day. Then respiratory tract infection also is used. Now lower and upper respiratory infection, chronic bronchitis, facial-maxillary infection, otitis media due to gram-positive cocci and Haemophilus influenzae. It is also effective against typhoid fever, bacterial diarrhea, dysentery. Then pneumocystis carinii infection leading to severe pneumonia. This cotrimoxazole is also used, especially for the as a prophylactic use in AIDS patients. So that's all about your cotrimoxazole and the sulfonamides. Sulfonamides as such we don't use much nowadays, but in combination with trimethoprim, sulfamethoxazole and trimethoprim in combination, they are used and they are also prophylactically used in AIDS patients. Thank you.